Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. As a teacher, I was always curious what happens in the classroom next to me. Now, being here at the University of Warwick gave me an opportunity to interact with people from different parts of the world. I'm interviewing people and asking them about their childhood experience in their school, which I hope will give us a glimpse how teaching learning happens in their country. So, joining us today, we have Danny. Thank you very much, Danny, for
Hello.
joining.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, could you tell us more about your country and your hometown?
Okay, so I come from Indonesia. Um, in terms of number of people, Indonesia is, I think, the fourth most populated country. Correct me if I'm wrong. And first one is India,
Yeah.
China, the US, and also Indonesia. And Indonesia is quite a large country. Like we consist of a lot of islands, so
Yeah.
it's so diverse. The most populated island, which is not the biggest, unfortunately, is called Java Island.
Uh-huh.
So it is so populated. All of the advancements of technology, education is focused over there. So you can say that you can find lots of good universities over there, and the progress of education is really good. However, when you go to the other islands like Borneo, Kalimantan, we call it, or Sumatra, or maybe Papua, which is very close to Papua New Guinea, it's kind of different. Maybe Sumatra and Borneo have kind of quite okay. Yeah, in some places they are good, but when you go to the what do you call it? East, west, east. Okay, to the eastern part of Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit heartbreaking because they are not as advanced as the Java Island. Okay, so that is like a rough introduction about education in Indonesia. And in terms of levels, we start with young learners. We call it kindergarten. I think that's at the age of 5 to 6 and sometimes 4. Well, before that, we have a play group, but sometimes parents don't send their children to play group, just
Mm-hmm.
play at home, but sometimes they do. But the most common one is, I would say, kindergarten at the age of 5 to 6. And then we have primary schools or elementary schools. That's at the age of 7 to 12. We use grades, so we have grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. After that, when they finish primary school, students will go to, we call it junior high school, or in the UK they call it secondary. But the difference is in the UK, after primary school you have secondary school. In secondary schools you have like, if I'm mistaken, 5 or 6 years. We don't do that. So we have junior high schools 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then senior high schools 3 years. After that you will go to university. In the
Yep.
UK, after primary, secondary, and then
Tertiary
university. Yeah, A
education.
level, O level, but yeah. So that one. So after we finish senior high school, and then people can go to either university undergrad, which is 4 years in the
Mm-hmm.
UK, sorry, 3 years, or they can go to polytechnic, diploma. Yeah, it's various. We have diploma, which is 1 year. We have 2 years. We also have 3 years. We also have diploma, which is done in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for diploma graduates, they will have D1 for 1 year, D2,
Ah,
D3, and
yeah, yeah.
D4. But for university, the graduate is called sarjana, which is not really sure how it's called here, like an undergrad student. And we have S1 for undergrad. And then if they go to master's degree, which is done in 2 years, their title will be S2.
Okay.
And then PhD, I'm not really sure because I've never checked, unfortunately, sorry. But maybe, I don't know, maybe it's 3 to 4 years, I think, for PhD. When you graduate from PhD level in Indonesia, your title will be S3.
Ah,
Yeah, so S1, S2,
yes.
S3.
Okay.
All right, so that's the introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much for this. One second. Forget this. Of course, it should be working.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for
Mm.
this.
Wait, wait,
Now,
wait, wait. Yeah, okay. You can repeat.
okay, thank you very much for this.
Mm.
Now, coming back to your experience,
Mm.
when did you started your school?
I think when I was 7.
Uh-huh.
So my story is a bit unique, yeah, because I was born in Borneo Island, which
Mhm.
is not where my family came from, because my family came from that Java Island, the one
Okay.
that I mentioned earlier. But due to my parents' work, I was born there, and then I moved to Malaysia. And then in Malaysia, I think we spent maybe a couple of years before we moved back to Java. Now, because of that movement, I didn't really. I mean, I didn't go to kindergarten, so I started in primary school when I was 7,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that happened in 2093. I think.
Okay. So, could you tell us more about your schooling experience? Like, how many students were there in your school?
Oh
Or
yeah, this is interesting because we can compare with India. But I think one thing for sure that I can share is we have less students compared to India. I think I remember your story. Like in one class, you might have like around 80-ish students,
yeah,
right?
yeah, at
Is
government
it in
girls' high
primary
school.
school?
No, not in primary.
Oh, okay. How
It
about
was
primary schools? How many students do you normally have?
that varies. Like, I mean, if you go to my current school, we
Mm.
have around 14, 15, 30 students. But I have seen classes where they have around 40 to 50 students in a primary class as
Ah,
well.
okay. Well, it's kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my context, I think around 30 students, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, around 30 students.
Okay.
And I think that that's quite common. Yeah, even when you go to junior high school, senior high
Mm-hmm.
school, the numbers don't really have a big difference.
Okay. So, in your case, you have around 30 students in your
Yes, that's
class.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And what was your medium of instruction?
Okay. So the languages in Indonesia, our lingua franca is Indonesian.
Okay.
However, uh, in each region we have our own traditional language, local language. In my case, it's Javanese because like in Java Island,
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
that's the biggest local language here. So most of the time we use Javanese, but we also mix with Indonesian a lot because
Ah,
Indonesian is used widely in on TV, radio at that time. So we you can say that we can trans language between the two languages quite easily because it is like part of our life.
mm-hmm. And for you in the school, the medium of instruction was Javanese,
And also Indonesian. So
Indonesian as
we
well.
use both at the same time.
Ah, okay, okay. And the textbooks were in
Sorry.
textbooks were written
Oh,
in
the textbook Indonesian,
Indonesian.
unless it's Japanese language. But other than that, it's all Indonesian.
Okay,
Mm.
and what subjects did you study at the primary level?
The subjects.
Yeah,
You mean like how many and what
which
the?
yeah.
Okay. Let me think. It's like long time ago. Yeah. Uh, okay. I remember we studied religion, of course,
Uh-huh.
and then Indonesian language, and we also had Japanese language, which is the local language. And then we have PE, and then we had at that time it was science, yes, science and social studies. Um, what else? Yeah,
Mathematics maybe.
math. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. But we didn't have English,
Ah,
which is so sad. And we
oh,
can talk about it later, yeah,
yeah.
deeper. But yeah, we didn't have English. We started studying English in junior high. So after I graduated from primary school, and then I went to junior high, and then we, started to get more subjects. For example, in
Okay.
primary school, you have science,
Uh-huh.
which is quite general, but in junior high, science will be split into several things like physics, and then
Chemistry, biology.
I'm not really sure with chemistry. I think I learned chemistry in senior high. At
Okay.
that time, I'm not really sure
Ah,
now.
ah.
At that time, yeah, I learned chemistry in senior, but in junior high, I got physics and then biology. Yeah, I think those two. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Coming back to your primary education,
Yep.
So while speaking to Nurul, she
Mm,
mentioned different types of school, like public schools, then
mm,
international schools,
mm,
then
mm, mm,
maybe a
mm.
religious school or special language schools.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So could you tell us more about which school were you in and what are
Yeah.
the different types of
I
schools?
went to government school, which is
Yeah.
like because it was quite close to my house,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, normally people don't really go far. Um, I mean, unless they have very specific reason. For example, the parents prefer is religion based school, or maybe they prefer to stay with the same community. Because in Indonesia, I think there are some ethnic groups which like they have their own circle, so they prefer to go together with people from the same religion or maybe the same ethnic groups and so on. But in my case, I went to yeah, government school.
Okay. So apart from government school, you have these religious schools or
Mm,
at least
mm.
ethnic schools
Yeah,
or
yeah,
even international schools as well. I mean,
yeah.
of course, your government don't call it international schools, but the
Uh,
idea is something like that, isn't
well,
it?
yeah. Well, actually, we do have that until now, international school. So, to my knowledge, when we call international school, it means um, first they adapt international curriculum,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the most common one is Cambridge. And then secondly, they hire, in this case, people from outside Indonesia, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the most common one is for English related subjects. They will normally hire native speakers,
Yeah.
and these schools, I think that they still exist until
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you finish your primary school,
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong, you need to pass an exam to.
Yes,
Hmm.
at that time. Yeah, we yeah, we final exam. Yeah, they go under different names because the weird thing about Indonesia is like most of the time when you change Ministry of Education, you will change the curriculum, you will change a lot of terms.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had that. So I did that, and then I would get like some kind of score. At that time, it was five subjects. Let me think: math, Indonesian. Sorry, I cannot really remember,
That's
but
fine. That's fine.
yeah. So after we got that, and then we would use that score to enter junior high, and I can't really remember at that time. I mean, the recruitment, uh, definitely it wasn't based on the place where you live, because now it is the system. So now
Okay.
the system is, we call it zonation. Yeah. So you will be able to enter school which is quite close to your house. And that, when I was a student, people, what is it? People competed to go to the best schools,
Yeah.
and the way they select you is like based on your score that you got from the final exam,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and then they would rank, and then yeah, just see like the top students and things like that. But now I think the government wants to, to diminish like that kind of concept
Ah.
of favorite school. We call it favorite school, and
Okay.
not favorite school, because the
Okay.
problem is, if all of the great minds go to the favorite school, how about the other schools? It's kind of unfair. So that's why now the government wants to make it. I think we want to reflect to Finland. Like in Finland, like there's no favorite school or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So all schools
Yeah.
are great. Okay, so I think that's what we are trying to do. So um, you can go to the school which is the closest to your house, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be seen from your family card. So, for example, if you live in, let's say, in Coventry, so you will go to schools around Coventry. You don't need to go to the other cities, and things like that.
Okay. Okay. So in your case, how far was your school?
Mm, okay. Think if you take the public transportation, it would take you around, I would say, 15 minutes.
Not
Yeah,
that far.
that's not that far.
Yeah.
But I did try ride my bicycle.
Ah.
I think it took me around, I don't know, like half an hour, I think.
Okay. Okay. That was
Yeah,
quite a
more
lot.
or less. Yeah.
So, could you tell us more about your junior high school
Junior high school.
experience?
Okay. Um, so there were lots of students because it was one of considered like one of the favorite school.
Career schools, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can feel that students, like the smart students, everybody wanted to go there. So you can see that the competition is even rougher.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I went there, and then I was the I'm not trying to brag, but I was the smartest kid
Of
in
course, you
my
are.
primary school. But when I went there, there were other smarter kids than me, and yeah, so we were put into different classes. I'm not really sure how they decided that. Maybe they decided that based on this course. I'm not really sure because I could, or maybe I could be wrong because so we were put into several classes
Mm-hmm.
from A to I can't remember, be A B C D E F G H, maybe yeah, until H I
Oh
think.
my God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in each class, I think yeah, more or less there were like about 30ish students.
Okay.
And at that time, what I recognized, you can locate, oh, the smart kids, they were in, let's say, okay, let's say for example in A and B classes, and you can also find that the troublesome kids, they were like packed in like the same class, which is the other class.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I was doing well on my first year because on my second year I was put into like good students, like good in terms of
Oh, okay, okay.
behavior and also scores. But then maybe I was too lazy, or maybe like I was not performing great because I was not like the bright students when I was in junior high. So on my third year I was put into a 3F, and man, you can tell that all of the gangsters. Yeah, so it was just a bit hard time for me. But yeah, we definitely got more subjects. We did. Okay, so in junior high, you have something called local content, something like that, meaning that you will get a subject which is the special thing from that area. My area was not, I mean, we didn't have really anything special. So at that time, I learned about electronics.
Wow.
But if you live in Bali, for example, and Bali is known for its art, for example, so you might do something different, like doing, what do you call
Ah,
it? Yeah,
sculpture thing.
sculpture,
Yeah.
yeah, things like that. So that depends on things there. And of course, some schools, they will give some other stuff like let's say scouts. Yeah, so we got that kind of thing. I remember doing um what's the experiment in biology class. At that time, we observed some millipede. I remember one day I brought catfish,
Mm-hmm.
right? We tried to, what is it, like we put salt in the water to make it tipsy, and then we try to dissect it to see, oh, this is the part, and the inner part and things like that. And one thing that I remember that my friend said, it's haram, haram. Haram means because
Yeah,
I'm Muslim,
yeah.
so we cannot eat it. And then we just threw it to the garbage bin. Then I found out that for fish it's okay. You can eat it. So still I was like, why did I do?
Interesting,
Yeah, yeah. So I
interesting.
remember doing some experiments which I like about schools, because I think when we just sit down in other class, like I remember it was physics, we talk about like mechanics and things like that, but we just read like all of the theories and all of the
Mm-hmm.
books, and we didn't do like practical stuff. I think for me, I couldn't see like the correlation between what we learn and how we applied in real life. So I think
Oh,
that's my critics about my junior high.
okay. That's interesting. Thank you very much for
Mm-hmm.
this. Just a random question came into my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
So, like, you have been in the bright students' classrooms, and you have been in the gangsters' classroom
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
So, I was asking, you have experience teaching learning in this classes where there were
Mm-hmm.
brilliant kids, and
Yeah.
again in gangsters.
Okay. Yeah.
So, what difference did you notice?
Okay. First, from the students. behavior, they followed the teacher's instructions, like in terms of, for example, assignments, homework, and things like that. And of course, because of that, yeah, teachers seemed to be happy, or at least they felt comfortable teaching in those classes because like it followed what they wanted. But in the not so good classes, at least in my experience, I could feel like, for example, the students' motivation, they didn't really do assignments or homework. And I remember one day I was also
Punish.
punished along with some friends. So we had to stand up in front of the class and like in front of the whiteboard,
Uh-huh.
blackboard, sorry. And then, yeah, we were punished because we didn't do the assignments. And I think I can also see that the teachers' attitudes, they seemed like unhappy, when they dealt with us.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, what I noticed is that the students, they come from, I don't know, like maybe family with problems. So because I noticed at least one friend, which was like at that time like was kind of the leader. I think his family was like kind of struggling with the economy. Like his dad was a taxi driver, and I think I don't know, like maybe he grew up in an environment, not like the ideal environment. So that's why he grew up with that
Mhm.
kind of behavior, kind of like rough, like the bad kid attitude. Like I think I remember I was also involved, like kind of fight with him. So it was quite frustrating for me. But I think now when I realize that when we grow up as teachers and we learn more about teaching, especially teaching students, with difficulties, I think we need to realize that sometimes it's not them who want to be naughty, but it's because one, they grow up in that kind of environment and they have problems.
Mhm.
So they bring the problems at school, and that affects the way they see classes, especially when they don't think that schools is important. They don't know why they have to do it, and it's our job as teachers to show them, not tell, but to show them this is something that you will need when you grow up. I think when they don't get that, I think they will bring that kind of negative attitude in the classroom.
True, very true. Speaking about the subjects you studied at junior high school, could you tell us what subjects were there?
Okay, so I mentioned that in primary school we have science, and then in junior, that science will become more specific. It becomes physics and biology. And then for social science, in junior high, that becomes geography, and then what else? Yeah.
History, civics.
Oh yeah, history. Yeah, geography and history, and we also have religion subjects, and then we have PE, and then we have English. Yay!
Ah.
Finally, English, Indonesian, and then the Japanese, which is the local language, and then we also have. I can't remember. Scout, I think, yeah. Well, it's not compulsory because we did it
Mhm.
only on Sunday. Whereas in my primary school, we didn't do anything related to Scouts, but in junior high, we did that, even though it was only once a week.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So, your English learning started at the age of 13.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Uh, so again, as I know,
Mm.
after junior high school, you have to attend another exam to get
Oh,
admission to the next level.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was final exam, and there are some kind of exams. Fun like national exam is not the only one that we did. We also did a school exam. So we have school exam, and then we have national exam, which is
Mhm.
from the government. School exam, I think it was administered by the school, which might
Mhm.
differ from one school to the other schools. We also have like practices exams, like so for example, if in PE class, so you practice like how to do certain stuff, like passing the ball, like throwing the ball to the basketball rings, or doing some kind of movements. In religion, we did like kind of practice like how to do the prayer in front of the teachers, and then the teacher will see it. Oh, okay, you're doing okay, you're doing not okay, and things like that. And actually, to be honest, that confused me because like which one would they use for the passing criteria to the next level, which is senior high? But I think it was the final, the national exam.
Mhm.
And one thing that I noticed is that it's kind of unfair because let's say you learn a lot of things like in the past 3 years, and then just because of one thing or another, let's say you are sick or maybe um I don't know, like what is tested during the national exam is not something that you learn like here, so it can fail you,
Yeah.
right? So that's why now the government is removing final exam and they change it with something else. I can't really remember because like our new curriculum is just actually they have planned to implement that like way before this, but Corona came,
Mhm.
so everything was like adjusting. So now, I think starting from this year, the government is trying to implement it little by little. By the way, we call it independent curriculum or curriculum merdeka, meaning that one school and other schools they have the independence to do stuff on their own, seeing from many perspectives, like the readiness of the teachers, students, and also in terms of the lesson they don't have to do like okay this lesson should finish this semesters. The teachers can make some adjustments,
Mhm.
and that's I think one of the things that our prime minister does, which is so great.
That's interesting.
Mm.
So coming back to you, you finished junior high school.
Mm, 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 mm.
You appeared for an exam,
Yeah,
and you got selected for senior high school.
senior high school. Yeah, and I think the system was kind of similar. Yeah, so
Mhm.
everybody tried to go to the favorite school,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then the school would select you based on the scores. And it's interesting because after my generation, I think after several years the system changed, so they saw it like from different factors like your final score, and then your the way where you live, and then also what else, yeah. I think they also did test.
Mhm.
So from those things, they will say, "Oh, okay, so we will take you, or we will not take you," or things like that. And I remember during my time, my friend entered the school because she had some kind of achievement in, I think it was in sports.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that also happens. Like when you have some kind of achievements, then you have something to offer to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so what subjects did you study? Again, number of students, medium of
Senior high
instruction.
school.
Yeah.
Um, Almost the same. I think I think we had, I don't know, like okay, so in senior high, in my time, first year, second year, it's the same. On the third year, you will be divided into three departments: science, social, and language.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because again, I was not a good performing student, and I think my family, what is it, urged me to join science because science is considered like the best department, which I disagree by the way.
Mhm.
So I tried to do that, like I because I think at the end of second year
Mhm.
you will sit down with the uh, I mean, the teachers will sit down with the other teachers and then they will discuss like some things, and you will fill in forms to say that, okay, where do you want to go on your third year? And I wrote my first choice was science, my second choice was social, but I was put in language department, which I like because
Yeah.
to be honest, I hated math and I hated the social studies. I don't know why. Maybe because it was my inability to catch up with the lessons, but also maybe partly it was because of the teachers. Sorry, teachers. That's because I don't know, like the way people teach in schools is that it's so boring. We don't really do practical stuff, so that's why when we just sit down, discuss lessons, do exercises, like you do it for the whole 3 years, 2 years. I think that's so boring. And I love English. I grew up in a family where you know, they have very positive attitude towards English. Like, I used to watch cartoons when I was in Malaysia. I used to watch English cartoons, and then when I went back to Indonesia, we used to watch like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, and I grew up in that kind of
Yeah.
family. So my attitude has been so positive towards English. So that's why when I went to that class in what is it, a language department, I was so happy because we had no math, no math, no biology, no physics, and no social studies. Well, we had sociology, which was okay. I enjoyed that, yeah, because we learned a lot of good stuff. And then we had English, Indonesian, like more hours compared to the other departments,
Mhm.
and we had German
Wow.
because in my time when you go to language department you will have some options. In my school we learn German, in other school they learn French,
Mhm.
and after my year they added Japanese, which I wish I experienced. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for sharing all this.
Mm.
So now let's move our focus a bit.
Mm.
When someone wants to be a teacher in your country,
Okay.
what are the different courses available for him?
Okay, nice. So if you want to be a teacher, you the most formal way is to go to teacher department in university as one, yeah, sarjana, which is like undergrad in
Mhm.
our term, and they offer different what is it programs. If you want to be a teacher in primary school, you can take a primary education program. That's it. If you want to teach in junior or senior high, because in junior and senior high school levels, the subjects are already specialized. Like you
Mhm.
have English, you have biology, you have chemistry, math, and so on. And the university provides that. But for primary school, it's a bit different because in primary school, when you become a teacher, you are expected to be able to teach like all of the subjects.
Okay.
So that's why what I know, when you let's say for me, I graduated from English department program in university. Normally I cannot apply for teaching jobs in primary school if I want to teach English for two reasons. Number one, the policy is that you need to graduate from primary education program,
Mhm.
which I don't. And number two, this is the sad thing, we don't really have English in primary school
Yeah,
level because
true.
it's still optional, like still a 4% of schools that teach English, so it's optional. Like we are not ready in terms of
Mhm.
many things, like the resources, because I think last week I met the Minister of Education when he went to London, and he realizes that we are not ready resources in terms of curriculum and also teachers. So that's why one of the reasons why he came here is to see the possibilities. Well, I think they are on it already. Yeah, like the Minister of Education in Indonesia is working with the British government and also with British Council to see how we can what is it uh, think about like do something with English in primary school level, maybe starting from building the
Mhm.
system.
That is great. That's amazing. Okay, so I realized that you have these different courses to become a teacher. Now, what about you? What course did you pursue, and how did your teaching career start?
Okay. That is so interesting, yeah, because when I was in my final year of senior high school, my teacher offered me to do what is it? So normally when you want to go to university, you have to pass the national exam.
Yes.
However, there are some cases when you don't need to do that, and we call it PMDK. So let's say I don't know how it's called, yeah, in English, but in this pathway, you need to show your reports, school reports, and then the university will decide whether you are eligible to join their program without doing the national exam.
Yeah.
If your scores in, like the past two or
Few
three
months.
years
Yeah.
in senior high school in that subject is doing like good score or good progress. I was about to do that until my mom, who is Malaysian, she told me that, why are you doing that? Okay. Many people here in Malaysia, they have good English, but they're not doing well. And do you want to be a teacher? Like what? Because at that time um, I didn't know like anything. Like I was like a clueless boy. So I decided to turn down my teacher's offer. I was so sad, like, because like at that time I was already like feeling in, and then when I discussed with my mom, that's what she said. Well, I don't blame her because maybe she also didn't know at that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
like okay. So fast forward, I joined another college, and this is like crazy. So this person, he was the owner of that college, and then he went to schools to promote his college. It's broadcasting. I'm not really sure if I can call it university. Like it's sort of like a high school. Yeah, let's say college, a broadcasting college.
Mhm.
With his very amazing presentation skills, I fell in love with this
Yeah.
institution.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I went there with other hundreds of students from my area, my province, and also some other areas. Later, we found out that this institution was illegal because
Oh.
he didn't have the permit. He didn't have what it needed to build a college. For example, you need to have some lecturers with certain qualifications. You need to have like library. You need to have the permit from the government. So my student number, it was made up. It was illegal. When you check it in the government's website, it's not even mentioned. So after 2 years studying there, we did a demonstration. We went to the local government. We did everything, including hiring um, a lawyer, which turned out to be a shady guy. So it was futile. We didn't get any result. We were hopeless. So we started to split, like we were
Ah.
powerless. So everybody went on their own path, and me, remember that, oh, I wanted to join English language program. That's what I did. I joined the national exam, and by the way, that was my last
Attempt. Yeah.
choice. My last choice, because the regulation is, if you want to join government university, you can do it at least 3 times. Let's say when
Yeah.
I graduated in 2006,
Mhm.
so that was my first. 2007,
Eight.
2008
That
was
was
my
the last.
last
Yeah.
chance.
And that's when you appeared.
I did it. And the funny thing is, we had to do like the final exam, right? First day it was English, Indonesian, and math. I think I performed well in English and Indonesian. Math, zero,
Oh my god.
zero.
Oh my
I
god.
didn't write anything because I was like, man, what is it? I do nothing. Because the rule is, for correct answer, I think you will get. I can't really remember. Let's say three, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one number, which is answered correctly, you will get three. Um, if you don't write anything, it's zero. But if you answer it incorrectly, I can't remember. Maybe okay. If it's correct, one. If it's incorrect, it is -1. Something like that.
Negative marking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, I knew nothing. Like 2 years, like that I'm really bad at math, so I didn't write anything at all.
Mhm.
And on the second day, it was social, because you know I'm a bit discriminated because I come from language department.
Yeah. Yeah.
While in university, they have only two choices. You can do the test, the national test, either under science or social program.
Oh
They
god.
don't like people from language departments, like a kind of outcast. Like we don't belong to either of this. Okay, and definitely we cannot go to
Science
science
thing.
pathway,
Yeah.
because uh, this is what I hate actually. People from science
Can go
program
anywhere.
in senior
Yeah.
high, they can go to
Anywhere.
any,
Yeah.
right? Okay. But people from social, I think they can only go to social. Yeah, so people from social department in senior high can only do social tests during the national exam to go to university. People from us, because we don't belong to either category, so we join social, and that's what I did. Second day of the test, I did like geography and economy, I think, and like I had no idea what it was, so it was like a mess. I remember that I was not doing so well, but luckily, thank God, I passed. I made
Wow,
it.
wow,
Yeah.
great.
At that time, it was so in my university, which is Universitas Negeri Malang or State University of Malang. Malang is the name of the
Yeah,
city.
yeah.
They have two programs: English language education and English language and literature.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't think about becoming a teacher. I was just thinking that okay, which one has like a higher, what would you call it, rank?
Okay, okay, okay.
So English language and literature was slightly higher, and the cool thing is there's only one class. So
Oh,
in Indonesia, like people from different places did the test, and there were only like I don't know, like maybe 25 something
oh,
people
wow,
were accepted, only one class. In
wow.
education, maybe because this is like more people, like they need more teachers, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe many people what is it were excited to join this, so they opened different classes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. And in Indonesia, for undergrad, yeah, you have at least two pathways when you want to enter university. One is through the national exam, and the other one is the one that
Yeah,
you
you
need to
told
show your
us.
report.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one is the university exam. So if you don't pass your national exam, you still have like the second choice
Mm-hmm.
to join that university through this.
University exam.
Yeah, even though here you need to pay like more.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I did it.
That's great.
Mm.
That's great. And once you finish your literature, English and literature study,
Sorry.
once you finish your English and
Ah, okay.
literature.
Okay. The story didn't finish there. So normally you will spend like around 4 years, three and a half if you are so smart and so diligent. But in my case, I finished my undergrad in 6 years.
Oh,
And the
okay.
reason is because I took double degree.
Ah,
Yeah. So the way double degree works is like this. Um, so first, you will uh, English language literature and English language and education will have like the same sub modules.
mm-hmm.
Maybe for the first, I don't know, like 4 or 5 semesters.
Okay.
After that, you will specialize in your own field. Um, and during my first years, I was thinking about maybe becoming a teacher is not a bad thing.
Uh-huh.
And if I graduate with two certificates, then I'm kind of
Yeah,
flexible.
yeah.
That's what I did. So I took double degree, and the consequence is that I had to like study like more subjects, more
Mm-hmm.
modules, and that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think starting from semester five, I think, yeah, I started to join the people from education department
Mm-hmm.
and taking some modules and stuff like that. And plus, I had like personal problem
Oh.
with my yeah, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I had personal problems, so that affected my study.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why I graduated longer. Don't do that, by the way.
And once you graduated, you
Yeah.
got a job. You got a job.
No. Okay. So, uh, after I graduated, I got married first,
Mm-hmm.
and then, well, so my wife was working in a what is it, spring bed factory,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time I was not working yet, but I was looking for jobs, like sending applications and then looking for job openings and stuff like that. And then until one day, I get an offering. I mean, I saw a job vacancy at EF,
Mm-hmm.
English first. The funny thing is, I was EF students for 13 years. You like I study and then stop and then study again and stop again. So I was quite confident. Oh wow, I know their system because I was their student. and then I did it, and thank God I was accepted. So I did teaching training for 2 weeks, and then probation. I think it was like 3 months, and then after that probation, then I became a full-time employee for, yeah. So in total, it was like 5 years, 2014 until 2019.
You said that you were a student of English first for 13 years.
Mhm.
So how did that work? Like, was it parallel to your formal education?
So I started going to EF when I was in second year of my junior high.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle introduced me because he knew that maybe he saw like the potential of English in myself. Thank you, uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I started going there on my second year in junior high. It was so expensive, and then yeah, I remember at times I stopped going there because like it was so expensive, and then I continued again during my senior high, and then I stopped again, and then I started again during my like final years in my university. So that's how I did it.
So is English first sort of a language school that
Oh
works
yeah, yeah, yeah,
parallel?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this they're so popular. Like I think the parent company is called Education First,
Mm-hmm.
and they have different businesses. One business which is quite popular is like an English center, but they also have university. I think Halt University, yeah, the name of the owner Bertil Halt, and which is in the UK, and so they have what do you call it? Not really exchange, but like you pay some money and then you will go to other country to stay there with host family for, I don't know, like maybe several months, and
Mm-hmm.
while studying in EF center in that country and things like that. So yeah, that's the kind of business that they're doing. And for me, I went to their English center, yeah, to study general English. Like they have their own curriculum, their own materials, and also they hire both native speakers and local teachers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, so thank you very much for sharing this. So as I get
Mhm.
it, English first is like a parallel schooling system. Like you have formal education,
Mhm.
you have this informal English first
Yep.
system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now coming to your career at English first,
Mhm.
could you tell us more about what were the students you used to taught? How was the experience,
Mm.
and
Okay.
something on these lines?
Yeah. Um, One thing that I can comment about EF is that it's a really, or it's a well-established company. So let's start with the recruitment. So for the recruitment, they will give you FCE test. I think it's a B2 level, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, FCE B2 level Cambridge test, by the way. And then they will do the interview, and if everything is okay, then you're in.
Mhm.
And then they will give you some kind of training. You start with very standard training like teaching techniques, methodology, PPP, ESA, and things like that. And then uh, you will start to observe one teacher, okay, see how it's done and blah blah blah. And after that, you will teach, and then that teacher will observe you. And then once you are confident, and when it's time, like after 2 weeks of training, then they will start giving you your own classes.
Mhm.
But um, I remember that you will start with adults, teenagers, and also young learners, but not very young learners. At EF, they have what is it? Something called high flyers. I think high flyers is for students at the age of 7 to 10. Okay, and then they will have trailblazers, which is 11 to 14. I think, yeah. And then also above that, that is front runners. So I teach those levels, but not very young learners, which is around 4 to 6, because oh, by the way, the program is called Small Stars.
Mhm.
Small Stars is so special because um, they are very young, and the treatment is so different. And yeah, you need to have like at least what I feel is like you need to have like certain experience and also certain training, and what do you call it? You need somebody to work with you before you handle this on your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what happened to me. So, in terms of class size, because this is like private English institution, people pay like quite a lot of money. So it's not big. I think it's various. I can say maybe starting from 4 students to maybe the biggest number. I can't really remember. Maybe 12 students.
Oh,
That's already
okay.
big. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
well, sometimes you might have like 15, 16.
That's not
We
bad. Yeah.
consider like it's big, like in our
Mhm.
context. Yeah. So, and one session runs for 80 minutes, and EF has their own system. Like they have their own books, curriculum. They even have like their own animation, audio, flashcards,
Wow.
everything. Yeah,
Wow.
it's so well established. That's what I like from EF system, because it's so well established. Everything is there. Like once you have your own account, you can access like lesson plans and also the handouts, the audio. You can access everything, and you also do the reporting online. Like they have their own platform to report like the attendance, students attendance, and also reporting like regularly. I think every, I'm not really sure, maybe in the middle of the course and also at the end of the course, we were supposed to do some kind of reporting to the parents, and parents can access it in their devices. So I think it is really cool.
And how do these national exams influence the English syllabus in EF?
No,
They
it
don't
doesn't.
influence. Okay. So
It
what
doesn't,
is the
because
like
uh, they don't match actually.
exactly?
Because
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because so EF has their own syllabus, their own curriculum, and I don't see any correlation between EF and national exam. So we cannot expect like something what we call washback effect or something like that.
Yeah.
But what I notice is that students who go to EF,
Get
they
better.
tend to have like a good performance in English, because
Yeah.
the way EF teaches English is so cool. Like, well, people might have a debate about this, but at least what I feel is that the medium of instruction is purely English. They don't
Okay.
translate. They don't use like certain, even for certain terms. They don't do that. So it's 100% English. At first I was like clueless, but then I could start to internalize. Okay, right.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Could you tell us more about some recent interesting initiatives, maybe by you, maybe by EF, or maybe by your NGO or by your government?
That's a good question. So first I will talk about my NGO. So uh, when I was working at EF in my hometown Kediri, which is in, it's a small city in East Java province. um, I met some people from uh, English village. So we call it English village or Kampung Inggris in Indonesia. It's not a typical English village in the UK, but this village has like hundreds of English schools running independently. And the history is quite unique because so long time ago there was somebody from Borneo Island. Uh, he went to Kediri to study, and then long story short, he established like the first English school in this place. It's called BEC, Basic English Course. And then from there, there were students, and then his students graduated and then created their own English schools and like that. Yeah. So I think now it's already like about more than 40 years, and in total there are hundreds. The data keeps changing, but you get the idea. So in that place, I met some friends. At that time, they were doing like social work. They already had a name, but it's a different name. And the problem is they didn't have like a very established system. For example, like they didn't have um, what is it, curriculum, syllabus, things like that. They just met on Saturday evening to have a meeting, and then on the following day they taught the students in one of the primary schools in Kediri. So when I joined, I tried to offer like some things, like for example, we made our own syllabus, and we moved to other schools to get like other students. And then finally, it was in 2019, in December. I still remember that. And um, I tried to make this organization to uh, be, what is it, recognized by a wider audience by changing the name, because at that time the name was like quite represented like one area. I wanted it to be more general, more international, but then he didn't want to do that. So I decided to make it on my own with some friends from that organization, and hence we um, ITC was born, like Indonesia Teaching Community. And because of COVID, then we couldn't teach in the schools. So I decided to switch to online classes. Now, there are some benefits with this because we could reach like more students from different parts of Indonesia. We can also get volunteers from different parts. Even once we had a volunteer from the Philippines, and one of our students now is in the UK with his parents. So there are great possibilities with that. And um, along the way, like until now, it's already 4 years. ITC has undergone a lot of changes, and one of them is Google Classroom. Because in the past we didn't have that, but I realized that if we just rely on micro teaching, which is on Friday evening now, I think it's not enough, because a lot of our volunteers, they are willing to teach, but they don't really have um, what is it enough background for pedagogical skills, especially in teaching young learners English. So I feel like we need to give them additional exercise. So that's why I give them Google Classroom materials every week. Sometimes they have the assignments, sometimes they don't. But the idea is to expose them with yeah, a lot of skills and knowledge related to teaching. For example, like teaching language skills, classroom management, teaching young learners, and maybe tools that they can use for playing games, for example, like online games for young learners and things like that. Now, when it comes to my government, surprisingly, a few days ago, I met the Minister of Education. Wow. His name is Nadiem Makarim. Um, a little bit of story. Nadiem Makarim was the founder of Gojek, which is, I think, it's a unicorn company. The first unicorn company in Indonesia. I think, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. He created Gojek, which is like a platform to connect taxi drivers online with customers. Okay, now when he was chosen as the Minister of Education, he until until now he has done some, I would say, really good innovations, and one of them is creating platform for teachers where they can download syllabuses materials. They can also share their work so that the other teachers can learn from it. So it's now more like a teachers learn from teachers. It's not like usually it's like top down where everything is like very centered from the government. But now everybody can learn as long as they can upload it, and then they can comment, and then they can do a lot of things with that. That's number one. And number two, they also have something called it's like pioneer teachers. The idea is that they will choose like some teachers who are crazy enough to have like wild ideas, who can push their community. So they will select those people, give them training with the mindset of our new curriculum, which is called independent curriculum, where in this curriculum we don't want to, like, for example, treat all students are the same, because everyone is different. Their environment is also different, like for example in Eastern Indonesia and Western Indonesia, like the development is different. So in this curriculum they have like that flexibility to how they want to run their classes. Now through this pioneer teacher, then we they teach them that kind of concept, that kind of mindset, with the hope that these teachers will be the pioneers in their own schools to what is it, to, how can I say this, to influence their colleagues, with the hope that they will be ready to use this curriculum, because this curriculum is just started like this year. And the next one is, with hopefully with this new mindset, then their teaching and learning practices will be much better. And
also in terms of university, the Ministry of Education has launched some programs. Number one, uh, university student teaching in rural areas.
Wow.
One of our problems is that there is always a deficit of teachers, like good quality teachers in rural areas, because like not many people want to teach there, and also the opportunities and so on and so forth. With the help of university students, it's more like what do you call it? Empowerment, or and by the way, they count the credit for the university students. Wow. It's like an internship. Like we do different kinds of internships, sometimes in companies, sometimes in also places like that. So the government gives them like some benefits, like some money, so that they can survive during certain period of time. And another was another thing that they do, they will send the students for 2 or 3 semesters outside their program. For example, if let's say I'm from English language teaching, but I want to learn, let's say, about economic or maybe marketing, I can take 2 semesters outside my program in arts or maybe in engineering, for example, and 1 semester I can do it even outside my university. Wow. So they want to give exposure for the students, not only within their pond, but try to put them in different areas, for the exposure. And okay. Lastly, the cool thing that I learned from the new Prime Minister of Education is they provide scholarship, but for undergrad students. Previously, we didn't have that, but now we do have. And to make sure it's cheap but impactful, they give scholarship to study abroad just for 1 semester. And the reason is they will get the result right away, rather than, sorry, for example, sending us to study for a master's degree or PhD, and they have to wait for, I don't know, like 2 years, 3 years for the result. Then why not sending these undergrad students just for 1 semester, and then hopefully when they come back, they will have like lots of fresh ideas and also lots of new experience that they can implement right away after they come back.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing all these insights. It was lovely talking to you and getting all these ideas. Thank you very much for agreeing to this interview and joining us.
Yep, and thank you for having me. This is a very good podcast. Keep doing it. Hopefully, this podcast will give like lots of ideas and can provide like insightful experience for everybody who's watching this.
Thank you very much.